Okay. So I'll just quickly explain to you, what the problem statement says here. So we're discussing problem one, okay? And let me just increase the size. Right. So is this fine for you all, or should I decrease it or increase the size of the font?
That's fine.
This is perfect.
Okay, cool. So here is the statement. Or uppercase, it is uppercase letters, okay? And what you need to do is you can perform a certain operation. And what is this operation? Change a vowel to a consonant, or change a consonant to a vowel. Okay, this is something that you can do on the whole string. All right. So let's just consider an example here. Let's say I give you a string as A, B, C, D, E. So what you can do is you can change A to any other consonant in just one operation. So let's say I decide that I want to change A to, let's say F. Okay, so I can convert my string to something like this in one operation. Okay. So let's write it like this. So this is one operation. Now I can, work on the new string and change it however I like. So let's say I decide to change my B here, and I want to change it to, let's say, A. So I can convert this whole string to something like this, FACDE. And this is again one operation. Okay. So what you need to do in this whole question is that you need to convert this whole string into such a form so that it only has one letter overall. Okay. And I mean, you guys can turn off your videos if, yeah, cool. So let's say I decide that I want to convert this ABCDE to a string like this, and please stay on mute, like if you're not speaking something that is relevant. So yeah, if you have a string ABCDE and we want to convert it to AAA, so can you tell me the number of operations required here? So let's just consider first 4 operations. Okay, cool. So let's just see how will we convert it. So we have A, we don't need to convert it to anything else. We have B, and we can convert it to A in just one operation, right? Similarly, we have C, we can convert it to A in just one operation. Similarly for D. And what about E? Can we convert it to A directly?
No, 2 operations.
Right. So we need 2 operations. So we can convert E to, let's say, something like a B, and then we can convert it to A. So these are like 4 operations here and 1 operation here. Right. So this is essentially what you need to do in this whole question. You need to
Why did you change it to? Why did you change it to E? I mean, why didn't we directly change it to A?
Because this is the condition, right? We can change a vowel to a consonant or change a consonant to a vowel. We cannot convert a vowel to a vowel because A and E both are vowels.
Yes, got it.
Right. So here we have 5 operations here, right? And we need to decide, I mean, we need to come up with an algorithm that finds out the minimum number of operations required so that we can convert the given string to 1-letter string. What I mean by 1-letter string is that, every character in the string is same. Right. So this is what we need to do. So, I mean, is the question clear to all of you? Should I get into the solution right away?
Yes, clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So fine. So let's just come up with a very naive approach. Let's say I decide that I want to convert my given string to something like this. A. Right. So, and let's just copy the string, and let's say we have our string as something like this, BCD. Okay. So if you want to convert this given string to a string which has all A's, what exactly do you need to do? Do you need to touch the letters that are already A's?
No.
Right. We don't need to touch those letters which are already the letter that we want. So for example, here we don't need to touch all these A's. So we can remove them, right? I mean, we don't really care about them now. So all we have left with us is the string that for every character does not match with the string that we want. So what we can do is we can just iterate on every letter. So if the letter is a consonant and I want to change it to a vowel, what are the number of operations required? Let's say I want to change B to A.
1.
1. That is just one operation, right? And if let's say I had a E here instead, I had a E instead of I had an E instead of a B. How many number of operations would have been required then?
2.
2. Because what we can do is we can change it to a consonant and then we can change it to A. Right. So this is pretty simple. The approach is this. You try out the algorithm for all letters possible. Right. And let me just tell you the constraints that we have here. So the length of the string is just 100. Okay. So let's consider n as the length of the string. So n is just less than equal to what? 100. And how many? How many things do we have to try out? How many letters do we have to try out here?
26.
Number of possibilities is 26, right? And can you tell me the number of, the time complexity for checking each possibility? Like, let's say I want to convert the whole string to AAA, or let's say I want to convert the whole string to BBB. And n is the length of the string. So how many total, what is the time complexity that will be required to just check the number of operations required?
26 into O of n.
Right, cool. So this will be big O of n. Why? Because we are iterating on every single character. And for every single character, what we are doing, essentially, we are just checking if this character is equal to our current character, the character that we want, we don't change it. And if it is not equal, then we just check. Like if we want to convert a vowel to a vowel, we need 2 operations. If we want to convert a consonant to a vowel, we need 1 operation. So let me just write it here. So we have vowel to vowel, 2 operations. Consonant to consonant is 2 operations. And then we have vowel to consonant is 1 operation. And consonant to vowel is just 1 operation. Right. So this is something that we can check in order of n time. And we can try out all the possibilities. So the overall time complexity will be something like this: 26 into n into t. So let me just see what are they telling something here. Yeah. So the overall sum of length for s is just 4500. So we can replace n into t with 4500. Okay. So these are the number of operations that we're actually doing here. So is the solution to clear to all of you?
Yes.
For the first problem, and I can just show you my code if you guys want me to. Just very quickly.
Hello,
So
excuse me. Hello.
Yeah.
Can you please explain why did you write 26 into 450? I mean, for just checking, it would take only constant time, now because of only 1.
No, for every possibility, if you are checking, you need order of n. Order of n. Why order of n? Because you're iterating. Yeah, go on.
No, in the suppose the given string BBBB. Now we if we are at the first character, we only check whether it is an vowel or not. Na?
Right. So it is not just about the first character. We're checking every single character in the whole string.
That's what I'm asking. For just comparing, it would take only O of n. Na?
Yeah, for it would take order of n for just one possibility, and there are 26 possibilities. So I'll just tell you what the overall time complexity is. The overall time complexity is order of n into 26. Okay, and order of n is basically, I can just tell you here. Okay, so here what they're telling is that the overall sum of lengths for all these strings is at max 4500. Okay, so essentially if you're doing order of n for every single test case, we're just summing up all these order of n's, and summing up all these order of n's is just 4500. Okay,
thank you.
cool. So I'll just show you my code here. And I was planning to upload a video where I might have shown you how exactly do you need to submit a problem on HackerCup. But yeah, I was a little bit busy and I had already done the first 4 problems, so I had no way to actually show you guys all this. Okay, cool. So this is the solution here. I am just checking 26. I'm checking the answer for 26 possibilities, and answer here is just telling me the number of operations that I need to do for this particular letter. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just checking if this current letter is a vowel, and if the letter that I want to change it to is also a vowel. So if they both are, if they both are vowels or if they both are consonants, then I just add 2 to my answer, and otherwise I add 1 to my answer. And overall, I maintain the answer variable in which I'll just keep updating at every particular letter. Okay. So yeah, I hope this is clear to all of you. This is the first problem. This is the easiest of them. Okay, cool. So I am assuming that this is clear, and we can move to the second problem. And in the second problem, there is not a very major change here. I'll just tell you what exactly is the change here. Okay. So this is problem 2, and the statement is exactly same. We are given a string S of uppercase letters, and we need to change it to a string such that every letter in the resulting string is same. Okay, and the operation that we can perform here is now a little different. Okay, so they've given us pairs, ordered pairs. Ordered pairs, let something like xi, comma yi. Okay. And what this means is that they've given us, let's say, m ordered pairs. Okay, so these are something like so x1, y1, x2, y2, so on up till xm, yn. Okay, and just a minute. Okay, so what this ordered pair, every ordered pair, what does it tell us? It tells us that if you have a letter xi, you can change it to yi in just one operation. Okay, this is the operations that we can now perform. So the whole idea of consonants and vowels is not applicable in this problem. All you have to do is from the given ordered pairs, you can make a transition. Like if the particular letter that is standing at is xi, you can change it to yi in just one operation. Okay, and you can do this operation as many times as you want, but the overall number of operations that you're doing should be minimum. Okay, so the statement remains same. The type of operation just changes. Right. So is the problem statement clear to all of you?
Yes.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, why not try out the approach that we were using for the very first problem? Okay, let me just look at the chat. Ek loop to lagana padega na bhai. Okay, I think this is for the last problem that we were discussing. So let's just skip that. And where was I? I was, yeah. So what we can do is we can just try to see what was the approach that we were using in the previous problem. So what was the approach we were trying out for every letter? Okay. So let's say I decide that I want to do this again. Okay. So I try out for 26 possibilities. And let's say my string is something like A, B, C, D, E, and I want to convert it to AA. So can somebody tell me here that do I really care about the characters that are already same now? Like if I want to convert it to an A and the letter is already an A, do I need to consider it?
I don't think so.
Right. So let's just look at it like this. So if you have an A here and we want to change it to an A only, we don't really care about it. Okay, now let's say we have a B and we want to change it to an A. So what should we do exactly? We need to choose some ordered pairs. Let's say we choose A1, A3, A5. Let's say we choose these ordered pairs. And what these ordered pairs are, let's say B converts to C in one operation, then C converts to D in one operation, and D converts to an A in one operation. So can I say that these are actually 3 operations? Because we're using 3 ordered pairs now.
Yes.
So yeah. So can somebody tell me what is the approach that comes to your mind? If I want to change B to an A, and I need to use the minimum number of ordered pairs to actually do that, what would be my strategy? Nobody?
Shortest path in the graph.
Shortest path in the graph. Okay, good idea. But which graph are you exactly talking about? We don't have a graph here. So which graph are you talking about?
The
I mean,
graph
the
made by the
made by the
graph made by the conditions given. We convert B to A in one operation. So that's an edge.
right. Good idea. So let's say I decide, let me just, bring up one node here because we have a graph here and it would be better if I show it here. So yeah, if I, convert this whole problem to a graph problem that I want to convert B to an A, I want to do this. And I want to use the minimum number of edges in the graph. So let's say I construct my graph something like this. B goes to C, C goes to D, C also goes to E, let's say, E goes to A, and D goes to something like F, and F also goes to A. Okay, so let's say I want to go from B to A. So what are the minimum number of edges that we're using here from going to B, from going from B to A? 3. We can use this edge, we can use this edge, we can use this edge. But let's say we would have chosen a different path. Let's say something like this, one, this, and this. How many edges are these? These are 4, right? So this is not the shortest path from B to A. So essentially, if we are given a letter and we want to reach to another letter, we just need to find out the shortest path between these two letters. So yeah, can somebody tell me how to find out the shortest path? We have, a directed graph. Let me just, write it here. Directed graph. Dijkstra, okay. Directed graph with no edge weights. Okay, let me just, let me just tell you the constraints here. Right. So let me just, quickly tell you the constraints so that it becomes easier. So can somebody tell me the number of nodes in this overall graph? We are just concerned about the letters. So what are the maximum number of nodes in this graph?
26.
Okay, 26 nodes, and the maximum number of edges?
25.
25.
Maximum number of edges are not 25. From every particular letter, we can, direct an edge to another letter. So that's like 25 into 20, or 26 into 25. So these are the maximum number of edges. And so what I can do is for every node, I can run a BFS and find out the shortest path to every other node. So does this make sense? If I do this, I will have 26 nodes, and for every one, I will be doing an order of n plus m, order of 26 plus 26 into 25. These are the number of operations I will be doing overall. So 26 into, I mean, this is a very small number. So BFS runs in order of n plus m, and for every node we are doing that. So it is essentially order of n into n plus m, n square into nm. Okay, let me just write it. Small n equals to 26, m equals to 26 into 25. So this is n into n plus m. So after doing this, can I say that for every pair of nodes, I can find the answer in constant time? Can I say that? Like if I'm choosing a node and I'm running a BFS for every other node, and I'm storing that this is the shortest path between this node and every other node. So now if I get a query, let's say that I want to find out the shortest path between A and B. So can I get it in constant time?
Yes.
Right. So what we'll do is we'll just maintain a distance, let's say a 2D array, where distance of ij equals to minimum distance from I to j. Right. We can just question second chal raha hai, second problem. I mean, if you're lost, I will be uploading the recording later on, so you guys can check it out. But we'll not be going back if you are joining right now. So distance of ij just means the minimum distance from I to j. Okay, so if I calculate this, how much time did this overall operation take? This is 26 into 26 plus, I mean, let's just write it like n into, right? So this is done, and this is a very small number. We can treat it a constant. So we don't really care about this, and distance of ij is just constant time. Okay, and I have this order of n into n plus m is to calculate for every possible ij. Okay, this is not for just one ij. This is for every possible ij, and we're doing this. And after this, we can calculate the distance from every I to every other j in just constant time. Okay. So yeah, now tell me what would be the approach. If I know that, from B to A, I have a order of 1 algo to find this. Now, is my overall problem same like as we were doing before? I have the shortest path and I just need to replace it. Like, that's not at all difficult after this.
So yes, now we can add the shortest path and get the sum.
Exactly. So what we'll do is for every letter, we will try to convert the given string to a state where every letter in the string is same as the selected letter. Cool. So, I mean, this is now find order of 26 into order of n. I mean, order of n basically. Right, so is this clear? I can show you my code for this, and I can tell you the constraints. The constraints are pretty similar, like 4000 is the overall the overall limit of the sum of lengths of the strings. So essentially this is something like, let me just write the exact number, okay? So this is order of 26 into 4000. Let's just remove this order because it does not make sense to put that. And we have what? We have 26 into 26 plus 26 into 25. Why is this here? Can somebody tell me? This last thing.
For checking every possibility.
Right. This is for the pre-computation. Right, exactly. This is for the DFS or the BFS. I mean, you can use a DFS or a BFS, anything you want. But since this is this is a directed graph with no edge weights, a BF would be, considered a better thing to do here. Okay, so this is the second problem. Let me just quickly show you my code here. Okay. Right. So what I'm doing is, first of all, I'm building a graph with the letters. This is the graph that I'm building, adding the edges, and all these edges are directed. Okay, so I'm not adding an edge from A to B and also from B to A. So I'm only adding the edge from A to B. Okay, and this vector of shortest is just telling me that, what is the shortest path between these two nodes. So for every node, I'm running a BFS here and doing that. And after that, what I'm doing is, after that, the whole thing is just similar to what we were doing in the last problem. Okay, we are running a loop for 26. That is the number of letters. And for every letter that we choose, we are trying out order of n. We are doing an order of n thing to just, find out what is the minimum answer to convert the string such that it only has letters of this character. Okay, and this answer is just a global thing here. We are just maintaining a minimum of it. Okay, and we also need to print -1. So in case my answer is overall infinity, that means I haven't found my answer. We just have to print a -1. So there is nothing, fancy here. So are these first two problems clear to all of you? If you have any doubts, let's just wait for 1 or 2 minutes.
Yes. Clear.
Okay, let me read the chat here. Dijkstra. Yeah, you could have run a Dijkstra as well. It wouldn't have really affected you. But since we don't have any weights assigned to the edges, we don't really need Dijkstra. Or I think somebody was also suggesting Floyd-Warshall. You can do that. But
Can we do it by DFS?
Can we do it by a DFS? You can do it by a DFS. You need to, you can look it up online, how to find the shortest path between two nodes using a DFS. It is not difficult. It is just like a DP approach. You have to, consider some other cases in the DFS. BFS is very simple. So, you should always prefer BFS if you have a choice, because also BFS can be implemented iteratively. So you don't have this whole stack thing. You don't have to, consider the recursive stack that you will be encountering in DFS. Right, so let's just wait for another 1 minute. If you guys have any doubts, we can discuss that. I mean, you are free to write in the chat as well if
Can
you're
you
not
repeat
comfortable speaking.
how we approached, how we thought about going for a graph, and how we thought that it is a graph problem. It can be solved with a graph. I didn't get the
Oh, okay. I mean, if you were able to solve the first problem, essentially you would have come to an approach that, you know, I can try out 26 possibilities, and for every possibility, I can check that I want to convert the whole string to a string containing all the letters as this character. And what I need to do is I need to go to every character and I need to convert it to my character. Okay. So let's say I want to convert a B to an A. And I already know that, you know, we have some ordered pairs that we can go from B to C, then we can go from C to D, then we can go from D to E. So why not construct a graph? I mean, it seems really intuitive to construct a
Yeah,
graph.
like if someone is having some prior experience in graphs, then he will be using graphs only in this question. Like if you are not having any experience in graphs, then you will not be able to think about it. I think this is the correct way to do
Okay,
this problem.
so I'll just quickly tell you what else you could have done. Okay, I mean, this is interesting. This is also a graph type of approach only. Like what you can do is you can assign a DP. I mean, this is something else that you can do. DP of CH, let's say we are assigning a character. Okay, and DP of CH is basically let's just consider it like this: DP of CH1 comma CH2. So what does this tell me? This tells me minimum steps to go from CH1 to CH2. So can you write a transition for this DP? Like this is something that we could have done instead of a graph.
Yes, makes sense.
We could have written a DP like this: CH let's say 3, CH2. We could have written it something like this. Let's consider it like this: minimum of CHI. Connected to CH1. Right, we could have written a transition like this. This would have also worked. Right, right. I mean, you're standing on CH1, you want to go to CH2. So what are the ways that you can go to CH2? You need to go to some CHI such that CH1 is connected to that CHI. And then you can go from CHI to CH2, provided, you know, you add one step here. Right, so you could have also done this. Let's bring this down here. But can somebody tell me what is the overall issue with this approach? Like what can happen? Okay, let me just let me tell you. What can happen is you might run into a cycle. So let's say you have B to A, A to C, and you have C to B. So if I go for, if I say CH1 is B and CH2 is F, let's say, CH1 equals to B, CH2 equals to F. So what will happen is you will essentially run into a cycle. You will go to A, you will go to C, you will go to B. But here what will happen is you will run into a cycle. So in order to calculate this DP state, you also need to maintain a visited type of an array, visited CH. So if CH is visited, then, you know, you won't do a transition here. If CH is visited, you just return, let's say, infinity. That I've come into a cycle, I cannot go to the provided character. So let's just return infinity. So this is something that you could have done if you think about it using DP. But I mean, if you consider the things that are happening at the backend here in this DP, it is essentially a graph only. Like it is just a normal DFS. You maintain a visited thing and, you know, you just try out all possibilities. Right. So I think there was somebody who was asking, can you do this using a DFS? Yes, you can do it using a DFS, but you need to sort of maintain some DP states. Okay. But yeah, I mean, if you have some experience with graphs, this is not at all difficult. It should come to you instantaneously. Yeah, so let's move to the third problem. And I think the third problem was really easy. There was nothing much here. If you consider the number of points assigned to this problem, there were less than A2. So, I mean, even the guys who were designing these problems knew that B is easier than A2. So if you were given the contest and, you know, you only were able to solve A1, you could have directly gone to B instead of A2. Right. So let me just tell you what this statement in B problem says here. And we have some questions in the chat, I guess. Google. What are some good resources to study graphs and trees? I'm not sure for trees. I think you can refer to my videos on YouTube. They're pretty cool. I mean, I'm not talking about binary trees or binary search trees. These are not used in CP. So I'm talking about actual real trees, generic trees. So for that, you can check out my videos on YouTube. And for graphs, I mean, I myself am not really good with graphs. So I won't suggest anything to you right now, but you can try out the CSES problem set, okay? And for trees, you can go for Karthik Arora as well, yeah. Okay, so somebody is asking, will you discuss C2's DP approach? Not able to understand. Yeah, I will discuss some ideas around C2, but I mean, I wasn't able to solve C2. Let me just show you the code that I was writing for C2. I was going for a DP approach. So this was the code. I mean, this is just huge. And I've removed a lot of part because it was just, I mean, nonsense stuff. So there was a lot to do here. And if you talk about the number of test cases that I was able to run in this problem, I was able to run n-1 test cases from the given test cases. But there was one test case that was failing, and I knew, I mean, this approach cannot be, modified to actually contain that test case. So I did not submit the problem. Okay, cool. So let's discuss what exactly is the problem statement in B. So let me just write it here. Let's remove this. So we are discussing problem 3 now. Problem B. Yeah. So in this problem, they've given you an n cross n grid. And all these, this whole grid is filled with these 3 characters, either X, NO, or, a dot. So an X just means that, this place is occupied in this grid by an X. An O just means that this place in the grid is occupied by an O, and a dot means that this place is not occupied. So let me just give you an example, something like this. So let's just, make it like a normal tic-tac-toe. We have O here and we have X here. And let's say we have another X here. So now in the problem statement, what they've told you is that, you need to fill the remaining places with an X, okay? And you need to choose minimum number of places so that, you win the game. And what is a winning? Let's just define what exactly is a winning. Winning is filling one row with only X's, or one column with only X's. Okay. So can somebody tell me in this example, what are the ways that we can convert it to a winning state?
One comma one.
Yes, we can put a 1 comma, I mean, we can put this like this. Let's just see what are the possibilities, okay? So we can do it like this. We can put an X here. And what else can we do? We can do it something like this, dot XX. Let's just put it here. We can also do this. But can you tell me the number of X's that we used here and in the above case?
1 and 2.
1 and 2. So in the problem statement, they've told us we need to use a minimum number of X's to win the game. So what is the minimum number of X's that we need to use here?
1.
We need to use only one X here. Okay, we don't need to consider this case. Now let's say I tell you that this string is, I mean, this whole grid is a little different. So we can convert this to a winning state like this, or we can also convert it to a winning state like this. Right, so do you guys agree with this? We can do it in 2 ways here.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. So in the question, they just want us to use the minimum number of X's to win the game, and they just want to they want us to tell them the number of ways that we can do that. The number of ways we just choose the minimum number of X's to win the game. So this is one way, and this is another way. Second way. So this is exactly what we need to tell them here. So can somebody tell me the brute force approach that comes to your mind for this?
Yeah, so we can fill in every dot with possible x, and then we can see that at the end, if that row is containing of all x's, if it is containing of all, then we'll put inside the map, we'll put, let's say we needed to fill 2 dots in this case, so that the row becomes complete x. So we'll just like put inside the map that for 2 we have this case. So we'll do this for every possible rows, then for columns, and in this handle one specific case of filling it by just 1, because there can be a situation where a single x can like complete both rows and columns.
Right. So this is the edge case that we are actually talking about. Can somebody tell me the number of ways to win in this grid? The grid here.
We can win in 2 ways, like, but we'll fill just 1 x, and we can win in 2 possible ways.
Okay, these are the 2 possible ways, right? We just have to fill one place. Okay, we just have to fill this one place, and you're telling me that there are 2 ways to fill this one place, but the answer is actually 1 here, right?
One way. I said we can win in 2 ways, but we have to fill just 1. We have to handle this edge case for 1.
Exactly. So how do we actually handle this case? What we can do is we can just maintain, let's say, set here, and we can put in pairs of integers here. That these are the, or let's say consider a vector here. Let's say I tell you that minimum number is 5. So what you can do is you can find out all the combinations. I mean, considering every row and every column. So what are the number of ways for doing this? Order of n into n. And for each one, we'll just store, we'll just store something like an order of n vector, which tells us the minimum number of operations that we need to do in this row or in this particular column. And we can maintain it in a, let's say, set here. So these are the number of ways, and at the end, we just print out ways.size. Right, this is exactly what we need to do here. So if you guys want, I can show you my code for this. This was a pretty easy problem, only implementation, nothing much. Okay, so let me just quickly show you my code for this, then we can move to C1, because this problem doesn't really require such a lot of discussion. Cool, and I hope this whole thing is getting recorded. I mean, can somebody just confirm?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So what I've done here is just I have maintained that same exact thing, set of vector of pair of int and int. And for every possible row, what I'm doing is I'm just calculating them, right? What I'm calculating, I'm just calculating the minimum number of places that I need to replace so that I eventually win. And what I'm doing is I'm also sorting this vector. Okay, this is very important. Like you can have a vector like this, okay? Pair of equals to something like this, 1, 2, and you can have 2, 3. But in the lower vector, what you can have something like this, 2, 3 and 1, 2. So can somebody tell me, are both these vectors same or not?
No, same nahi hai sir.
But
same
according to this question, is the same.
Yeah.
This pair just tells me, the place in the grid. So we are covering 2 places in the grid, which are 1, 2 and 2, 3. Similarly, in the lower one, we are covering 2 places, which are 2, 3 and 1, 2. So both these vectors are actually, denoting the same thing. But if I just sort both of these vectors, will they become equal?
Yes.
Right. So this is like saying that, you have a permutation. If you have permutation 1 and you have permutation 2, how will you check that, are these two permutations of, the same elements? How will you check this? You can just sort them and compare every single letter, right?
Yes.
So this is essentially what we're doing here. We're just sorting the vector, which tells me which are the places that we need to fill. And I am maintaining that in my set. And after that, I'm just finding my minimum answer. What is my minimum answer? My minimum answer is, the minimum size. I mean, the size of the vector that is minimum. Okay. And after that, I'm just, calculating how many vectors have that size. And if there is no way to actually win, then, I just print impossible. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that was it for these three problems. Let's get to C1. And this was an interesting problem. So yeah, let's discuss this. So have you guys already read the problem? Should I explain it, or should I, get into the solution? Okay, looks like nobody is speaking or writing anything. So let's just explain the problem. I'm not explaining how it is written in the whole statement there, but I'm explaining how I actually understood the problem. Okay, so we have a tree here and there is a root. Okay, this is the root. So what we need to do is we need to go to some places. Let's say we decide go here, we go here. And what we do is we add one edge here. Okay, let's say we add this edge. Right now, this is not in the given tree. Let me just use a different color. So this is the edge that I'm adding. Okay, and what I do is I just move to this. Then I use this edge to come here, then go here, and I reach back to 1. Okay, so I need to take up a circular path so that I return back to 1. I start my path from 1. I go to some nodes. Let's say I go here. I am allowed to use one extra edge. Okay, I can use an extra edge to go from here to any other node. I can go to this, I can go to this, or I can even go directly to 1. Okay, but there is a condition here. What is the condition? The condition is that every edge can be used at max once. So if I use this edge, let's say I decide to come here and I use this edge is no longer valid now. This is removed. Okay, and what you need to do is you need to find a certain path that gives you the maximum answer. And what is this answer? This is just the sum of values. A1, let's say A2, A3, A4, and let's say I go here, A5, and then I go here, A6, and then I go back to A1. So what is the sum? My sum is A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6. Okay. So let me just write it, in a formal way on Sublime. Problem 4. Given a tree, start with node 1, which is the root, and come back to node 1 by following a path where you can use at max one extra edge and find the maximum answer. And what is this answer? Path sum. This is the path sum. Okay, so is the problem statement clear to all of you?
Yes.
Okay, I think somebody was saying something. Maybe it was not clear to them. Can you repeat?
I was saying yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's clear.
Cool. So can somebody tell me, if I don't use case 1, if I don't use any extra edge, can I return back to 1? Okay, let me write this here as well. Once you use an edge, it is no longer present. I mean destroyed, something like this. Okay, so can somebody tell me, if I don't use any extra edge, can I return back to 1 through a path?
No.
Okay, why can't I return back to 1?
Because we cannot repeat the path. And a tree
Because we can't
because it's
repeat
a tree.
Mhm.
Because it's a tree and there are no cycles.
Cool. So we have a tree. There are no cycles. There are no cycles in a tree, and every edge is being used at max once, right? So this clearly means that, you know, if we don't have any cycle and if we are using every edge at max once, then we simply cannot, you know, start from a point and get back to that point again, right? So what this clearly tells us that is that, you know, we cannot go to a node and, you know, return back to one and complete our overall path. But, you know, there is one exception here. What is the exception? If I start with node 1 and don't go to any other node. Right, so this is possible, right? If I don't go to any other node, I'm not using any cycle, or I mean, I'm not using any extra edges, but I'm still able to go from one and come back to one. Right, so is this making sense? Like in this case, only there is one exception that you need to actually consider. Okay, cool. So I'm assuming this is clear. So first of all, can somebody tell me, like, what was the main thing that, you know, in the whole statement that tells us that the given graph, or let's say the given whole structure, is a tree? Can somebody tell me this? Like, it was not mentioned in the whole question that this is you're given a tree. You need to actually, you know, see that this is overall a tree.
N-1 tunnels.
Okay. N-1 tunnels. What else?
Route. We can go to every node through the route.
Right. So what they've given us is that there are only n-1 tuples running among the caves, and the ith of which allows one travel in either direction. Okay, that is fine. And each cave is reachable from cave 1 by a sequence of these tunnels. So what does this mean? Does this mean that, you know, one is connected to every other node? Does this mean that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So how is it a tree? Let's just discuss that. One is connected to every other node. And what else? This just simply means that we have only one component, one connected component with n nodes and n-1 edges. Right, so this clearly means that if we have one component and this overall graph has n nodes and only n-1 edges and the whole graph is connected, this simply means that, you know, it has to be a tree. Only then can it be connected. Right, so this is how we actually, you know, verify that it is a tree here. And if let's just discuss case 1 very quickly. We can't go from, you know, a node to, I mean, we can't start from a node and come back to the same node without using, let's say, a cycle or any extra edge, right? But if we start with node 1 and don't go anywhere else and we stay at 1, we're done. Okay, so the answer for case 1, can somebody tell me the answer for case 1? Okay, looks like nobody's speaking. So the answer is value of 1. Right, the value that is present on the node 1, that is our overall answer for case 1. Okay, now let's consider case 2. What is case 2? We are adding an extra edge. Now tell me, what are the number of ways to add an extra edge? If I give you a tree with n nodes and, you know, I have n-1 edges already, I don't really care about these n-1 edges, but let's say I tell you what are the number of ways that, you know, you can add one edge in the whole graph.
N? Is it N?
No, it is not n. So let's say we have these 3 nodes.
N square.
N square.
N-1.
Okay, n into n-1 is actually the right answer. N into n-1 by 2. Because if this is node 1, this is node 2, this is node 3, what are the number of ways to add edges? Add one edge. We just need to select 2 nodes, right? We need to select 2 nodes and, I mean, just draw an edge between them. So what are the number of ways to select two nodes from n nodes? This is CN2, right? Okay, anyways, let's say I give you a tree now. Let's consider a tree. And I tell you that, I am adding an edge from this node to this node, from this node to this node. Okay, so now tell me that, if I start with node 1, I go here, and then I also go here. Can I come back now if I go to this node?
No.
No.
No. So what this means is that the two nodes that you have selected, you cannot go in their subtree. When you're going down, you cannot go in any of their subtree. Why? Because if you go into any of these subtrees, you cannot trace back your path above. Why? Because all these edges are already removed, right? So this clearly means that if I select a node I, j, all I need to consider is the path from node 1 to node I and node 1 to node j. And do I need to go in the subtree of either of I or j? Quickly tell me.
No.
No, we don't need to go in the subtree of I or j. So let's just write it here. Let's say we pick node I and j. So we don't need to go in the subtree of either I or j because we cannot come back to 1 then. Right, I think this is clear. This is one observation that you need to form. If you add an edge between I and j, what you want to go from 1 to I, then from I to j, and from j to j back to 1. Right, is this making sense?
Yes.
Okay, but now let's say this is the tree and you choose your I and j like this. Let's say this is your I and this is your j. Can you go back to 1 now?
No.
Like you choose this node, then you choose this node. Let's say you come to I now. So what happens is that this edge is removed, this edge is removed. You add an edge here. You can go back to this node, but now you cannot go back to 1. Right. So this is the overall, beauty of this question, that if you are choosing two nodes whose lowest common ancestor is not 1. Let's say I choose these two nodes, I, j. Can I go back to 1 now if I choose I and j like this?
No.
Why no? Because there is a common node above which the whole structure is destroyed. So what happens is that you can come to this and you can even come back to this lowest common ancestor, but you cannot go above it. Why can't you go above it? Because the whole structure is destroyed above it. Right. So now can somebody tell me which I and j's can I choose?
I can be in the left subtree.
They should
of
just
1
be in the different subtrees.
and j can be in the right.
Right. So if let's say I have three subtrees going from 1. Let's say these are this is subtree 1, this is subtree 2, and this is subtree 3. Can I choose both the nodes in subtree 1?
No.
No, right? Can I choose both the nodes in subtree 2 or subtree 3?
No.
No. But can I choose one node in subtree 1 and one node in subtree 2? Can I do that?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Why can we do that? Because we can just go to this subtree, we can go to this node, we can go from this node to this, and we can return to 1. Right. But if I choose both the nodes in the same subtree, what happens is that this overall structure is not defined. So there is no way to actually go back from this subtree to node 1. Okay. So this is another observation. I and j that we pick should be in different subtrees of 1. Okay. Is this observation clear to all of you? Can we move ahead after this?
Yes.
Okay. So what exactly do you need to check if two nodes are in the same subtree, or in the different subtree of 1 or not? Let's say. Okay, let me just see what I've written, that we should be in different subtrees of 1. So we are not considering one, okay, here. We are not considering the subtree including one. We are considering the subtrees of the children of one, okay? So I think this should be clear. There is nothing to explain here. But yeah, so how do you actually verify that, you know, these two nodes are in different subtrees of this one?
And this time and all time, or LCA will be 1.
Okay, one observation is the LCA should be 1. LCA should be 1. Why it should be 1? Because if the LCA is, let's say, this node, let's say this is the subtree, this is the subtree, and this is connected to 1. So if this is the LCA, can I go back to 1? I cannot go back to 1 because the overall structure is defined, destroyed above. Right. So one observation is that, you know, you need to choose I and j such that their LCA is 1. So let's just write here LCA of I comma j should be equal to 1. Okay. But now let's say somebody here does not know what an LCA means. Okay. How would you approach this problem in that case? Let's say you don't know about LCA. What would you do in that case? If I tell you this is what needs to be solved.
We just need to check if they're in the different subtrees. So we can use the T and T out to determine if they're in, like, you know, if they're in the same subtree or not.
You can use a T in and T out. That is perfectly fine. What you can do is, you can, instead of using 1, you can use these children of 1 and run a DFS on them separately. And if you find both these nodes in the same DFS, that means you're choosing a wrong pair of nodes. And if they're in this different DFSs of the children, that means you're using the right, choosing the right nodes. Okay. So what I actually want to tell you here is that, you know, this overall thing will be order of n doing this. Okay. And if you talk about LCA, what is it? It is order of log n. But the thing here in this question is that, you know, it doesn't really matter because n is really very small. Okay. So you can do an order of n, or you can do, whatever you want to. You can even do order of n square. It does not harm you. Okay. So let's just discuss the time complexity of this. What is the time complexity of deciding every pair? Choosing every pair. What is the time complexity of that? Come on.
I think it will be n square because we need to consider every pair of.
Right. Order of n square for choosing. And what is the time required for just checking whether this is a valid pair or not? Let's say we are not concerned about the LCA, we are considering the naive approach.
It will be ON, so it will total be ON cube.
Okay, so total will be O of n cube. But now the question is not complete. Okay, you have defined a good pair, but how do you actually calculate the sum of these nodes? Like, if I tell you that, you know, you've chosen this I and you've chosen this j, how do you actually calculate the sum? Going here and going here. Will you run an order of n thing again here?
We can just pre-calculate the sum to all leaves and just like exclude the, like, you know, root node, क्योंकि फिर उसका हम last में 1 add कर देंगे.
Right. This is something that you can do, but even if you would have done it naively, going from I to the root and from root to the j, this, let's say, is order of n again. Okay, this will also work. Order of n to the power 4 will also work. You don't need any optimization here. All you need is pure logic. If you know how to take inputs of trees, if you know how to run basic DFS, and you can form certain observations, you can solve this problem without even knowing LCA or pre-computation, DP, anything like that. Okay. So I hope this is clear to all of you. This was for C1. Yes, no, you can write in the chat if you don't feel like talking.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay, good. So yeah, if you guys have any doubts, you can let me know. I think I'm done for this whole problem set. We can maybe, you know, discuss C2 problem together if you guys are interested by looking at the solution. But before that, we can discuss if you guys have any doubts.
I was able to solve till C1 और C2 तो देख के ही समझ आ गया कि नहीं होगा तो छोड़ दिया फिर.
ओके, और कोई? ठीक है, सोल्यूशन।
हेलो प्रियांशु।
ओके, हाँ हाँ हाँ,
हेलो।
बोलो।
तो भैया मेरा डाउट थोड़ा इस पे मतलब इस क्वेश्चन से नहीं था, अलग डाउट था एक। जैसे मैंने अभी करीब 2 महीने पहले सीपी चालू की हुई है, तो मुझे ये जो फेसबुक हैकर कप और ये गूगल किकस्टार्ट जैसे कॉन्टेस्ट है, ये फिर कब स्टार्ट करना चाहिए?
कब स्टार्ट करना चाहिए यार? मैं तो स्टार्टिंग से ही कर रहा था, कोई ऐसा वो नहीं होता हार्ड एंड फास्ट रूल की 6 महीने लगाओ सीपी में, 8 महीने लगाओ फिर करो। आई मीन व्हेनेवर यू कंफर्टेबल डू इट। कंफर्टेबल से आई मीन मतलब तुमने एटलीस्ट 50-60 प्रॉब्लम्स कोड फोर्सेस कहीं पर सॉल्व कर रखी हो, तभी ये चीजें कर पाओगे। बिकॉज इसमें ना थोड़ा डिफरेंट रहती हैं चीजें, लाइक यू ओनली डोंट हैव
मैं
टू
वही
सॉल्व द
पूछ रहा था,
प्रॉब्लम।
मतलब लेवल किस हिसाब का रहता है इनका, इन कॉन्टेस्ट का?
लेवल थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट रहते हैं, बट क्वालिफिकेशन राउंड्स इन बोथ कोड जैम एंड हैकर कप आर नॉट दैट डिफिकल्ट. If you talk about round 1, round 2 in both of these are, I mean, the difficulty just grows exponentially.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I mean, if there is anybody who is really interested in solving C2 along with me, I can, discuss with you the solution for C2, because I wasn't able to solve this. So maybe we can, figure out what exactly needs to be done.